during which it continued to build and deliver planes with this non-functioning alert. More troubling, pilots expected the AOA disagree alert to be operational, and it wasn't. In July of this year, your predecessor, then Acting Administrator Dan Elwell, explained how Boeing's actions violated FAA regulations in a letter to this committee, which I think we have a slide of. This is what he wrote. Once certified by the FAA, all features included on the airplane become part of the certified type design or approved type design. These features are mandatory in each airplane produced to that type design thereafter, whether or not they are required for safety. Although an AOA disagree message was not necessary to meet FAA safety regulations, once it was made part of the approved type design, it was required to be installed and functional on all 737 MAX airplanes Boeing produced. I'll repeat that the disagree alert was, quote, required to be installed and functional on all 737 MAX airplanes Boeing produced. You may not believe that the absence of an AOA disagree alert is a safety issue, but I strongly believe that Boeing's open defiance of FAA requirements in knowingly delivering airplanes without it is both a legal and an ethical issue. It's my understanding that the FAA has not penalized Boeing in any way for this conduct, or even taken any other actions to reprimand the company for its behavior. I know you have been here 4 months, but the word accountability has been used a few times. When I had the CEO of Boeing sitting here, I told him I thought we might have a different definition of that word. I hope that you and I don't share a difference in that word's definition as well. Why hasn't the FAA done anything to hold Boeing accountable to your agency, and most importantly to the public, for this sort of egregious behavior?
Thank you for the question. And we have already taken actions. As you know, obviously the airplane is grounded. We're not delegating anything to Boeing during the MAX return to service. We're not even delegating the individual airworthiness certificates for each aircraft. We have taken action, recent enforcement action, and we have additional actions under consideration, both with the existing settlement agreement that we discussed earlier here, and there may be additional actions as required, and I reserve the right to take them, and I will take them as appropriate, and you point out a good example here.
Well, thank you. I think that where we have regulations in place and where we have a purposeful evasion of them, if there is no consequence for that evasion, then the regulation doesn't matter. And so I hope that we will see enforcement of this, and a lot of my colleagues, we are trying to determine the balance that we should strike here. Is the process fatally flawed? What changes do we need to be made? But this, in my opinion, is an example of something that is just a decision that needs to be made by the FAA on how they're going to enforce their own regulations, knowing that a violation occurred.
Congressman, couldn't agree with you more. Safety's our highest priority, most important core value, and what supports that is accountability.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back if you want to take any time.
Thanks, gentlemen. Representative Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dixon, I'd like to ask you some questions about the FAA's Associate Administrator for Aviation Safety.